Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Monkey Wrench. I'm Kelly, the monkey with the wrench. Yeah, I know. I've got the same shirt on in the last 6 videos. That's because I film multiple videos in a day. I just finished a video on that push mower that was surging. And now I've got this pressure washer here. This Honda pressure washer, 3600 PSI. And the guy brought it to me and said, it'll start, but then it dies. So, let's see. It's got fool in it. You got fool? Oh yeah, you're full of fool. Let's see if I can get this cap back on, huh? If I can't get a cap back on, maybe I shouldn't be working today, huh? Alright, the fuel is in the on position. Let's put the choke over there. That'll be the throttle. Let's keep the throttle back and let's just see if she'll start. Okay, so it's definitely a carburetor issue. It started on choke. As it started to die, I pulled it back to half choke. It gave it new life for just a second. It started to die. I put it on no choke. It gave it life for just a second and then died. So we're going to start by pulling the carburetor off of this thing. Let's pull the air cleaner off. I believe I'm going to need just a couple of 10 mils. Let's take that off. And that. And that. And we should just have to clean the carburetor. Now, there's not a whole lot of dust that goes on with these, so usually that's not a big deal. The filter itself looks brand new. Everything on it looks brand new, so somebody's changed the filter recently, which is good. This guy, he paints, I believe, as a profession, so he keeps up on these machines pretty well. I think I'm going to need to grab a 10 mil for this and this. Let me just grab the tools and I'll be right back. Alright. Let's take these 10s off. I believe they're 10 mil. Yeah, 10 mil. Couple of nuts here. Put those somewhere. I'm working over here instead of over on the concrete pad because I'm waiting for somebody to pull up out front and I have a 6-foot privacy fence here. And also because my garden hose is right there. Now you can run a pressure washer for a few minutes, well, for 30 seconds to a minute without being hooked up to a garden hose. If you do it, you're doing it at your own risk. I do it all the time and it doesn't hurt the pump because the pump doesn't get hot. Well, there's one problem right there. Our spring on our linkage has come off. It actually looks like the end broke, but it could have just came off. So that's going to be an issue right off the top, is this linkage spring. But we got these two here and we should have a bolt on top. Let me see where that linkage spring is supposed to go. Now that does not come off with the carburetor. I'm probably gonna have to, no? Is this thing gonna just slide off for me? Yeah, you're just dirty. This is just a cover. Sometimes you have to take the tips off of these things, but in this case we didn't have to. I'm really not a fan of Honda. See, this is loose too. Not this, but the actual stud was loose, and that'll cause the carburetor not to seat against the intake manifold. But the first thing I'm going to do is back this sucker up, and it's going to be underneath the tank. It's going to be on that linkage underneath the tank. So unfortunately, just to put that spring back on where it's supposed to be, I might have to take that damn tank off. Ain't that gonna be about a bitch? Alright, to get the tank off, we got one bolt here in the front. And it looks like two on the side. So I'm gonna turn off the camera, I'm gonna take the tank off and see what it takes to get to this stupid spring. That could be the whole problem. The spring on the linkage, if it's not in place, won't hold the linkage in the right position. And I'll clean the carburetor anyway, but that could be the whole problem. That spring either broke or just popped off. Alright, there ended up being 4 bolts holding this stupid thing on, but I got it out of the way. Be careful you don't pull your fuel line off when you move the tank, then you're going to have fuel everywhere and it's going to be a pain in the butt. This spring right here is what I'm talking about. As soon as I pulled that cover off, I saw that the spring was off, and the spring actually goes right there. So I'm going to close this off, just squeeze it a little bit with my fingers, try and get more of a hook on it. And I'm probably going to have to get some needle nose pliers and see if I can get it back onto its guide. Hopefully you can see that guide. So where the linkage goes on right here, right in front of it is a little hole in that same linkage, right there. And that never fails, dude. The minute you fire up the camera, you start burping and farting. That's where this goes. And the hard part is trying to get it back on there. Maybe I shouldn't have closed it off. Sometimes they'll just bounce off. And it can be something as dumb, or I should say as simple, as this linkage spring popping off that will cause your machine not to work. And of course, it's so tiny and thin, getting it back on, it amazes you how the hell it came off when you can't even get the thing back on. Well, now I'm going to squeeze it just a little and make sure, hopefully this time it stays on there. And the other end looks like it's connected as it should be. So as far as that's concerned, it looks like we're back in business. Just because I want to know if that was the problem, I'm not going to pull the carburetor yet. I'm going to put this back together. Let me zoom you out so you can see what's going on. I'm going to put this back together real quick, just for my own edification, and see if that was the whole problem, because if he's been using this on the regular, the carburetor really shouldn't have a reason to be dirty. So taking it apart and messing with it, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Or as Red would say, if it ain't broke, you're not trying. But for the moment, I'm curious, because I've seen that before. I've literally seen that linkage spring come off or break because it got old and the machine won't freaking run, or sometimes it'll surge. It'll run kinda on choke, but it'll surge over that stupid spring. And sometimes I'll get a machine that somebody tried to work on before they decided to, you know, spend a lot of money to have their machine fixed. And they'll bring it to me. And I'll be going through the whole machine because something's not right. And it'll take me an hour or two of messing with this thing until I realize that somebody replaced that spring because it came off, or they broke it. And they just grabbed another old spring they found somewhere, who knows where they got it from. And they try to put it on, and of course it doesn't fit. And that's the whole problem, because when I see the spring and I think, oh, that's, you know, the spring's in place, so I just move on to looking at the next thing. I forgot to put on that sleeve. And I won't even bother to realize that, hey, wait a second, that that spring's not the right spring. There's your problem. And it'll be one of those frustrating ones. And it happens when you're working on this stuff. You will get machines that will become the bane of your existence. They'll look like they have simple issues, and it turns out that they have a ton of simple issues, or you fix one thing and a week later something else goes, and something else goes, and something else goes, and you can't figure out why this is happening. And it will drive you crazy. Now, there's a 50-50 shot, and leave your comment in the comments. You think that it'll start and run now, just over that spring, or do you think I need to pull that carburetor? Let's make sure we're in frame. Let's back out just a little bit. Now remember, I'm not going to let it run for too long because there's no garden hose hooked up to it. But I want to see if she'll start. That's choke on, that's fuel on, that's throttle down. Let's just see if she'll start. Half choke. Alright, she still has a dirty carb, but you can tell now just by putting that spring back on that she ran. Before, it wouldn't even run for more than a few seconds. This time she ran until I started messing with it. I'm actually going to start it again. Let's see. Alright, I'm going to have to clean the carburetor, but it was worth a shot. So let me pull that off. It's just it's just what you saw already, and we'll put the carb on the bench. Okay, it started raining, and a customer showed up, and somebody showed up to buy the lawnmower that I just fixed for the last video. Oh, been a long day. Anyway, pull this Honda carburetor apart. Oops. Thought I had a plastic container. You know what? I just wanted to see if there was some water in it. But sometimes you just don't have time to mess around. I'll hold it sideways. Holy crap. The inside of that carburetor is nasty. It's got actual dirt and sand in it. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but that's got actual sand in it. Well, there's your problem. And there's sand all over. It's congealed like jello mixed with sand. So that's why it's not running. Let me see if you can even see that on camera. I don't know if you'll be able to see all that. I never have the right lighting, but that's full of jello and sand and crap-a-moly. So let me get some stuff to clean that with. Oh, this is what's on my fingers. It's dried on my fingers just that quick, but that's what's inside of that carburetor. Alright, well, once again, I don't have an ultrasonic cleaner. So if anybody's watching and you want to help me out and support the channel, I sure could use an ultrasonic cleaner. I tried that $100 job from Harbor Freight and it was a bunch of crap. It didn't do nothing. I need about $400 for a decent ultrasonic cleaner. But I'm not complaining. because I still get the job done. Now, my seat's there. Yeah, there's just... I wish I could show you this on camera. I really do. But there is just chunks of boogers in there. Which is weird because if this guy, he's my neighbor, and if he pressure washes and paints, even on the side, we've had the warmest winter in Florida on record for years. I think we had like 4 cold days. So he should have been working. You can see that on my fingers. He should have been working all winter. Which means this thing should not have sat. That's ethanol. That's ethanol that dried out and went bad. And see, I keep telling everybody, and I tell all my customers, I just told the guy that left, we have to winterize our machines. Not because it gets cold, but because there's ethanol in the fuel. And when you park your machine, especially lawnmowers, even down here, we quit cutting the grass usually right around Thanksgiving. There might be one cut at Christmas time and maybe, you know, one in February or something, but we don't have to cut grass in the winter here either. So what I tell all my customers is, just remember, when you know it's your last cut, or it's, you know, you're not going to be using it for at least a month or two, instead of filling your fuel tank all the way, fill it halfway. Fill it a quarter of the way in your gas, in your lawnmower, in your carburetor, in your string trimmers, anything that's gas powered. If you're not using non-ethanol gas, and even if you are using non-ethanol gas, it's just always a good habit. Only fill your gas tank a quarter of the way. If you don't quite get the job done, if you don't get your whole lawn cut, so be it. Then put a little bit more gas in it, but don't fill up the whole tank. Because when you're finished cutting the grass, you keep the machine running. In the lawnmower's case, you might tie the bale handle down with a piece of string or a zip tie or something to keep it in place. Let that thing run until it runs out of gas and dies. That way it's going to use up all the fuel that's in the tank, all the fuel that's in the lines, and all the fuel that's in the carburetor and sitting in the bottom. And it's going to stop this problem from happening. I mean, I'm just getting sand and dirt and shit out of here. If he would have run this until it died, ran out of gas, and you will not hurt the carburetor or the machine by running it until it dies. You're just running it out of gas. It's not like a diesel engine where you got to prime it and stuff. Then there'd be nothing in here. What little bit was left in here would evaporate out in the course of a week or two. And the carburetor will stay completely dry. Completely clean. There's nothing to go bad in it. So there's nothing inside the jets to get clogged up. I mean, this is crazy, the amount of sand and garbage that's come out of this thing. So run it until it dies. And you can let that thing sit for 5 years outside in the rain. And if you ran it so there was no gas left in it, you could put gas in it 5 years later and start the sucker right up. She'll start up and purr like a kitten. But you leave gas in it for 3, 4, 5 months. I don't care what kind of stabilizers you put in it. I don't care what you do to it. It's going to happen. I know, because I fix hundreds of these machines every spring, thousands every year. That's the whole point of me starting this YouTube channel. It wasn't for you guys to watch. I didn't know that the general public wanted to see my videos. I'm getting 100,000 plus views a month. I didn't know that. I was doing this for my customers so that they could see what was wrong with their machines and watch me fix them and know that I was worth paying. Let me grab a screwdriver. And bar none, this is the main problem that I get on more machines. I should be able to take these carburetors apart with my eyes closed while I'm watching TV in the middle of having sex with 3 people. because I take them apart and put them back together so often that it's become second nature. Now these carburetors are not my favorite, only because there's not a whole lot to them, and half the time you can't get the jets out. Now thankfully I was able to get that jet out pretty quickly. I'm going to blow through there. And when it comes to these, you just find a hole and squirt some stuff in there. Don't use compressed air if you don't have to, because it's too much pressure and you can blow little things out. Just use the carb cleaner. Now in this case we've got 3 little jets, and if you hold that up to the sky and give it a twist, there's one of them's clogged. There's 3 little jets on one side, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the other. You probably won't be able to see that, but that's where my tip cleaner comes in. This is a welding tip cleaner. If you've watched my channel, you've seen me use this many times. I need to get another one. I actually need to start up my website, or at least an Amazon partnership or something, so that I can leave links to this stuff in the description, so that you guys can find these tools, what you need. And then I literally just go through all the little pinholes in the jets. Just run it through and clean them out. One to the next to the next. I get asked in the comments all the time, you show cleaning the carburetor on every single video. First of all, you can do 2 things about that. You can fast forward, or you can get the fuck off my channel. I show cleaning the carburetor on every video I clean the carburetor on, because half the time I gotta pull it apart and clean the carburetor again, and I want people to know that it doesn't always clean the first time. And 2, this might be the first time a stranger has found my channel, and when they do, I want them to watch that video and I want them to leave the comment that I love. I just watched your video and I can't believe how easy you made it look to clean that carburetor. I'm so glad you did it. Thanks so much. I got my machine running thanks to you. That's why I do this. And you ain't gonna hurt my feelings if you give me a thumbs down. You ain't gonna hurt my feelings if you say something nasty in the comments. I never was one to worry about what other people thought. But that's why I do it. It's for the people who find me the first time and go, you know what? He did a good job, or he showed me how to do this or that or whatever. So next time I have an issue, I'm gonna check his channel first. Just like when I first started, I used to go, or I still do, I just watched Terrell yesterday. I watch Pterodactyl, Terrell Fixes All. I watch Musty One, I watch Bruce Pender. I still get a kick out of watching other people make the same kind of videos, Double Wide 6. I still watch for the entertainment value. But considering I just looked at my my specs, in the last 28 days I've gotten 315 new subscribers and 110,000 views just for the last 28 days, and it grows every single day. So there are plenty of new people finding my channel, and they need to know that I work on thousands of machines a year, and that they can check my channel for maybe something else they're looking to have fixed, something they want to fix themselves. And they know the reality is that sometimes you clean a carburetor or you fix a problem and the problem still remains. And sometimes you just got to do it again, and there's nothing you can do about it. The machine that I just sold, I fixed the other day. I had to clean the carburetor 3 times. And then I forgot to put the screws in that hold the bowl back on, and it vibrated off and sucked some dirt in. And I had to clean it and actually drill out the small jet just to get it to stop surging. And that was a pain in the butt, because that is not how I wanted to spend my afternoon. I have too much stuff to do. Alright, that goes on like so, that goes on like that, and that goes in there. Okay, now that's our choke. Choke works. That's good. Alright, with all that crap out of there, and again, I don't know if you can see it, and I wish I could show you, but this is actually sand right here. There's piles of sand all over here. That's the sand that was inside of that carburetor, and there's a whole pile of it. So thankfully, there's not a lot to these carburetors. As long as you can get that jet out and make sure it's clean, you should be good to go. Now I've got my float here with my needle in it. I'm going to put that back. Make sure that goes into the seat correctly. These flies off of me, I don't know where they came from. Put this back in where it belongs. Now to test this, when that's in the correct position, your float is down in the bowl. When it fills up with fuel, just like your toilet filling up with water, it pushes that up and cuts off the fuel. So I blow in the fuel intake. With that down, I should hear air. When I push it up, I shouldn't hear air anymore. Good. That means my needle is seating correctly. Now all that's left is to put this back on. Now, on the bottom here, this is a release, so you can open that and drain the fuel. The only thing that I care about, it doesn't matter which direction it goes, but I know that that is about the outside of the machine. That's the only reason I care to even position that. I never just drain the bowls. You can do it if you're trying to run the thing out of gas. On a pressure washer, you might not want to leave the hose hooked up to it and let it run so it runs out of gas. So you can drain the fuel that way. And that's the only reason that needs to be positioned at all. Now I should be able to go put this back on, and this time I'm going to hook up the hose, because I expect she's going to run now that all that gunk is out of there. So I'll bring you back when it's back on the machine. Alright, this time I've got water hooked up to it because I expect it to start. Water's on. I'm talking to the camera. That's on. Fuel is on, choke is on. And that's it. And since the owner's here, I've got to make this quick. So if you made it this long, I appreciate it. Hit the like button. It's somewhere between my chin and my balls. Subscribe. We're almost at 3,000, and we'll see you on the next one.